Shalom, shalom. Welcome to another episode of Israel in Asia. Welcome to another episode of Israel in Asia. Once again, I'd like to give all praise to all the Israelite camps out there. I know we got heresies amongst some of us, but at the same time, a lot of the camps are speaking truth. And if it wasn't for you, I wouldn't have known the information I know today. So I always like to show my praises to those that came before me, that have posted YouTubes and say, "Hey, you Israel." So all praises to the Most High for your discipline and for your endurance. And now I'm just trying to do my part. So today we're going to talk about the Indian slave trade. The Indian slave trade is something I guess I overlooked. I never posted a specific video on just India because I've been focusing on Asia and Japan and Korea and so forth. But going back to India, there was a Indian slave trade that was huge as well during the Sahara slave trade. A lot of our Israelites and our brothers went to India. So now today what we're going to do is just follow the trail. You can always go back to my other videos. You have other information that connects to this video as well. So I'm only going to cover the sources that's in this video. So let's go. As you have seen in many of my videos, this Israelite myth. This is a page from that book. As you can see, this whole page is covering the landmass of Asia and India. So this was the Asia of that time, and as we're focusing on today, we're only focusing on India. So the Malabar Coast had a huge population of Israelites. As you can see, several indicators on this map. Even the funny part is those are Ophirians that watching my videos now. Hey, that's another indicator of Ophirian when the Ophirians migrated into India prior to getting to the Philippines. See that? Look at that. Anyway, so the Ophirians migrated there as well, which are not Israelites. And then you have the Ben Israel, the Jews, as well as those that went to Cochin, and they migrated there, and the Phoenicians that also were considered Israel as well, migrated and populating all throughout India. So as these people populating in India, they continue to sustain their lifestyle and intermingle with the local population. And if you go to the Bible, which we're going to cover in Isaiah today, India is considered the people of Elam. India is considered the people of Elam. So this is one of the books from the library, Political Secrets. The fifth columnist. If you go back to my one video, it's focused strictly on these books, on what the fifth columnists mean and why did they write these books. Their whole goal was to sniff out the Israelites within the other nations that are mingle with among the nations, because they knew that we're intermingled with them, we're assimilated with them. They knew they couldn't identifies us wholeheartedly. So that should give you an indicator that all Israelites don't look alike. So the clandestine Jews are spread not only throughout India, but also in Kashmir and Pakistan. It says being a strong agent of Jewish imperials of those countries, meaning they were there running things and living their lives, trying to assimilate and trying to fit in, because they wanted to take refuge because they were Israel, and they knew they were going to be persecuted, or people were already persecuting them. So it's in the work of the outstanding Jewish authorities just mentioned, which were prepared for the internal use of Jewish leaders in an exorbitant racism of Hebrew and openly discussions, meaning they were being discriminated against, as they always are. Although the Jews attempted to deny this racism in books written for the Gentile people, this kind of discrimination of the purest race against those of impure lineage, although generally hidden in order to avoid annoying and hybrid in occasions such as those mentioned before, appearance in the bare matter, and then provoked a natural disagreement between the discriminator and the discriminated. This occurred so frequently in the complex structure of Israelites society that even the two racial lineage that came from Europe, what two lineage, which two? Northern and Southern tribe. Northern and Southern tribe. Make sure you got it clear. It says the most cult and powerful of the world, the Sephardic and the native Spanish and Ashkenazi, and those are not the real Jews. Natives of the Central Europe, mainly of Germany. There's your bones. That spit out those bones. That is not meat. That is bones. Having had seriously difficulties for this reason. Okay, and the former believes that they are superior to the other. See, see those bones? Now all of a sudden, the other Jews are superior to the other. The ones from Germany are superior now, and we're gonna get that in other books. Having reached a point of forbidding marriages between Sephardic and Ashkenazi with the consequences indignation of the latter. So realize that this book, just like the other ones, and I mentioned this previously, it has meats, and you have the meat and the bones in here. If you're not showing discernment and you don't know just the truth, you don't know Esau is Esau and Israel is Israel, and you don't know the assimilation and conversions of the Edomites into Judaism, you will not understand what I just read. So, but bottom line is that they were there being persecuted, discriminated against. The fake Jews started assimilating there to persecute them. That's what they're talking about. They had the Negro Jews that were already there. They had the mixed Northern tribe Jews that were already there. The mixed Jews were there well before the Northern tribe was already there, well before the Southern tribe started migrating there. So you have multiple waves of Jews migrating to India, an invasion or escaping or just assimilating to get away from the persecution of Esau and the Greeks and the Romans. Let's keep going. So here's an article right here. It says Jews, and it's actually going to probably explain what I just mentioned a second ago. Jews in Cochin, another wave of Jewish migration, another wave that goes to tell you, Northern tribe was already there. From I'm gonna say Kringnor to Cochin happened soon after the 15th century, following a violent clash between them and the Arabian traders over business matters. Trading what? Trading slaves. A large scale damage inflicted on their houses and synagogues left even the wealthiest Jew insecure in their old neighborhoods. They sought out to relative protection in Cochin, but changes in the political climate afflicted the lives and fortune of the Cochin Jews seriously. The arrival of the Portuguese. Why did the Portuguese go in there? Because it was the Spanish Inquisition on the shore was one of them. One of the reasons why they were being persecuted, because they started coming there and they were coming in under the papal bulls to persecute anybody that was not going to accept what? The white Jesus. The already strained relationship between the king of Cochin and Zamortin, the ruler of Malabar, worsened with the former extension of armed friendships to the foreigners. What foreigners? The Portuguese, in a bid to strengthen his political power of the region. So basically, he made a pact with the Portuguese. He made a pact with the Portuguese, and they opened the door to start doing the persecution of the Jews that were already there. What Jews were mostly there? Northern tribe. Southern tribe was also coming in and invading as well, but by this time the Spanish Inquisition was moved to already over to India. So right now the slave trade is kind of just kicking off. It says the Portuguese extended military support to the Cochin. So, oh, hey, we'll protect your borders so we can trade these Jews across the world. To vanquish the Zamorans, but it was not long before they asserted their right over the land by building schools, founding churches, strengthening spice tradings, and establishing power. What did they do? They came in and extorted them, started capturing Jews, and started exerting their authority and saying that we're the God So you're going to teach our philosophy because guess what? They had to get rid of the truth. They had to get rid of the schools and the churches, so that way when they took these, when they got these Jews out of here, they know that now they have to wipe them off, which is biblical. So the Cochin Jews were affected by the aggressive rules of the Portuguese that followed. As a result, when the Dutch landed in the 1700s, which is also positive trade, as the Dutch East India Company, that was a huge company that funded by fake Jews to slave the real Jews. The Jews plead alliance in the newest invader in order to take advantage of the Portuguese. But following the military defeat, the Portuguese withdrew. President Sri Lanka and the Portuguese had their revenge on the Jews, during which the synagogue suffered extensive damage in the power struggle that took place shortly thereof, and the Dutch became victorious. So I'm gonna stop right there for now because it's just the fact is that you see the power struggle here. You understand that there was Israelites there well early in the early I'm gonna say 100 AD here, settled here, and then other Jews came in, but the Portuguese and the Dutch came in and immediately started this assembling the economy, the structure, the political powers there, and getting the Jews out of India. So now we're going to talk about Manasseh going to India. However, a lot of people, especially our fake conversion Jews that are Israel right now, believe that they were still there. That's not true. Some of them might be there. It's a remnant, but a lot of them got sold into Asia as well. Let's keep going. So here's your slave route right here. Here's your India. Here's your Malabar coast, your Cochin, and slaves was traded to where? Just like they sold them from Africa, they sold them from India back to Africa. They sold them to India to Southeast Asia. So basically, while they was coming in persecuting them, they were putting them on ships, enslaving them, and dislocating them to the four corners of the earth. To the four corners of the earth. I don't think any of this is showing slaves being sent to America right now. I don't see that on it. I don't even see I don't even see American on this map. So I think I just read something about Jews in Israel, in Asia, and how come I don't see none going? I don't see every line going to America. I like to highlight that because we need to wake up and stop just focusing on the western side of the world and learn how to understand the eastern side of the world, so we can wake up our northern tribe brothers over here. Okay, let's go. All right, so here we go. Screenshots that I took from another video. Hey, I'm like I said, I've learned from you guys, but guess what? I'm breaking it down. I'm dissecting it properly to make sure I can comprehend what is being presented. So now this slide right here is a screenshot from a book. And it's identifying that what tribe was in India? The tribe of Manasseh. The tribe of Manasseh was in India, and they were what kind of Jews? They were black Jews. They were out throughout the Malabar coast. So Manasseh was located throughout the Malabar coast. Is this biblical? Absolutely. According to Deuteronomy 4:27, and the Lord shall scatter you among the nations, and ye shall be left few in numbers among the heathens. In this case, the heathen would be considered Amalek. And whether the Lord shall lead you. So the Lord is going to lead you in different locations. What do you mean by lead you? Well, it was an escape prior to the slave trade. You had, just like you had Israel in Africa, you had Israel in India, you had Israel in Japan, you had Israel in Korea, believe it or not, you had Israel in China, you had Israel in Mongolia. Wherever the Lord leads you, you will be sold now into your end. So he's going to lead you from that country to another country. So they're not going to stay there. They're going to be sold to other countries. And guess what? They're going to be traded between the countries. So I just showed you India. They were sending slaves back into Africa. And then now this map here is showing Africans being sold into India. The migration and cross-pollination between the Israelites, northern tribe and southern tribe, was vast. So And then in Isaiah 11:11, which is a good scripture that everybody used to make sure you do highlight, because all these countries are mostly in Asia. And it shall come to pass in that day that the Lord shall set his hand again the second time to recover the remnant of his people, which shall be left amongst Assyria, Egypt, Pathros, and Cush, and from Elam, and from Shinar, and from Hemath, and from the islands of the sea. Now the islands of the sea, I there's many islands out there these days, but however, we do know if you go to our Isaiah 49 is islands out there that specifies the Southeast Asian seas. So that is very true. Now, down at the bottom here, it says the lost tribe, a myth. It says on page 341, there's certain Malabar Jews claiming that their ancestry reached India way back in 69 AD, 17 years before Thomas did. So, well, let's go take a look. Oops. Now think about it. I'm on page 343. So let's just focus on that right now. So bottom line is this. Here we go. The lost tribe of myth. And we have claims of Asher and Manasseh once again identified in Asia. In fact, Asher was also in Afghanistan, which is a little above Asia. And then you have so it's say the tribe of Asher were former or the founders of Afghanistan and did move thence to into India. So a lot of Asher went into India. Hence the Jews of India today from the mouth of the Indos from the west coast. So they came from the west coast of India while Manasseh settled on the border. Wait a second. I thought Manasseh just stayed in India. No, so Manasseh started migrating over farther into China. Manasseh didn't just stay in India. They started migrating to China. What were they doing? They were escaping because someone was being captured, sold into slavery already. The other Manasseh and some people were being evading, getting out of there. Let's go. Now let's go. Let's see the time period. It says in the Jews of Rita in 1695, they claimed that part of the tribe of Manasseh was placed by Nebuchadnezzar in the early parts of his domain, and 200,000 Jews later traveled thus to India, spreading 300 years in migration. So they were nomads. They were in India for 300. It says 200,000 Jews. That's a lot of Jews in India. So if you want to tell me all those people, and there's a lot of people in India that are Israel, but if they had a slave trade, then where did those people go? That's the question. So now let's go over here, because if we talk about India, now the thing is, I know a lot of people. I believe there's a lot of Indians that are, but a lot of people like to neglect the fact that these people that went to India, the tribe of Manasseh, just hung out in India and never left anywhere. Even the fake Jews are saying that they are bringing them back to their homeland because some people are practicing the traditions in India and they believe they're Israel. Well, I can't. I'm not God, so I'm not gonna say whether they lying or not. But I know a lot of times God is gonna bring us back to Israel, not not Imelak. Imelak's not gonna bring them back to Israel. God will. So those that are probably brought in there are probably they're probably easy cover ups, because guess what? They probably look like the real Jews of India or Manasseh. They probably do, but they probably not deceived. So who knows? But let's keep reading. It says Judaism reached Japan. So the reason why I'm just going to highlight this is because stop saying that they just stopped in India and then in North and South America. They did go to India, and it says in the extent of its spread, influence are still undermined. It's actually confirmed that they influenced the Buddhism and there's another Japan religion that they influenced heavily. Because they were in paganism. The northern tribe was in paganism. So, all because it's a pagan religion, it just means that it wasn't the pure religion. Since the creed of half Japan endowed to prove that it had largely influenced Japan, or that Buddhism ideals and concrete facts are that in the province of Yamato are two ancient villages, Goshen and Manasseh. These names there is not Japanese or no Japanese ethos. It's the legend is that in the 3rd century of our era, a strange people of about 100 silk risers, that's doing a silk trade, in the census of the year 471, this people numbered 18,670 and were highly esteemed in the province. A temple known as the Tent of David still stand where the first settled. The figure of the lions and the unicorn stand in the entrance of the are called Buddha dogs by the Japanese, but the Chinese call them the Persian lions. Now, Persian lions a lot of times refer to the lions, which refer to the tribe of Gad. And was Gad in Japan? Absolutely. That video is coming up real soon. I'm gonna prove that 100%. And by the way, they says, and the people were called Chadas, the beloved. That was on the map that I showed you earlier. Now, the destructions of the Jews from the destruction of Jerusalem. So the point of this one is just to go over the fact that, all right, you had the you had Jews residing in India, and it says the Indians resided in towns about 1 mile distance from Cochin called the Jews town. It says, that's not what I'm looking for. I think I'm just focusing on the integration or the assimilation portion. And then right here, you got here, it says the resident Jews are divided into 2 classes called the Jerusalem or white Jews. The Jerusalem. So we got the Jerusalem Jews, which were where where the Israelites came from, and the white Jews. They were coming from the Caucasus Mountains. Those are converts. And the ancient or black Jews and the whites resided in this place. So by this time, they're being spied on, basically. So they called us fifth columns. No, they were spying on us to figure out how to conquer and overrule us. Take us out of power. Take the place. That is do not trust your enemies or they will take your place. That's in the Bible. Do not trust your enemies or they will take your place. They were being taught the religion, and now they were trying to assert themselves to take the place of the real Israelites. I'm still finding. There was something on this page that I wanted to find, but I can't find it. Well, I guess the inhabitant of the people, they mangled, they was marrying the local populace, and they started looking differently. That's all I can say. Let's go to the next page. Oh, this is the one. There we go. All right, sorry about that. So anyway, the black Jews retained their traditions and that they arrived in India soon after the Babylon captivity. The Hindus the Hindus complexion and their very imperfect resemblance to the European Jews indicated that they have been detached from the parent stock of Judah. So they was northern tribe. That's what they're saying. They're like, oh, they weren't Judah. They were northern tribe. Many ages before Jews in the West, and there have been intermarriage with families not Israelites. And the white Jews looked upon the black Jews as inferior. Here we go again, and not as a pure caste. So now they're telling themselves, oh yeah, we're the pure caste. But they were not the original Israelites. So how are they the pure caste? You see the hypocrisy here? So bottom line is that the Israelites started taking on other features, and they started populating small colonies, taking other features, marrying the native women throughout these lands, and taking on their features and assimilating with them. It says here, they recounted the names of many of the small colonies residing in North India, Tartary, and China, and given him a written list of 65 places all throughout Asia. So these Manasseh and people that went to India started continuing to go eastward. Now here's Jewish Encyclopedia. Now, the Cochin, okay, the Cochin, the state of India within the within so the Jews of Cochin numbered 1,142 in 1891 and are divided into two classes. Here we go, two classes again. The white, whose complexion is almost as fair as the European Jews. So they're saying they white, but it's almost as fair as the European Jews. And then the black, who through darken than the former, are not so black as Negroes, and are of the same complexion as the Jews of Yemen. The white Jews numbered the present about 50 families, so they were small in numbers, they weren't that big, and these are divided into 6 stock. So they were there, like I said, once again, they were there to ultimately try to insert the authority and claim that they are the Israelites and should be the children of God. Now, these Jews, whatever Jew they were, intermingled with the natives and became the progenitor of the black Jews of Cochin. These are mentioned in Alban in the 9th century, and Benjamin the Tarto appear to have visited or heard of them about 1167. And it says, and he reported that they are 100 in numbers and as black as the rest of the inhabitants. Then the most important port in the Malabar coast, there Marco Polo was up in Mongolia, founded them a century later. And when Vesilo or Vesico reached Kolikot in 1487, the first person he met was a Jew said to have come from Ponan via Turkey or Palestine. So, all right, I'm gonna stop there, and now I'm gonna start jumping this square. So the point of me jumping this square is this: Israel went to India. It's very obvious. There's multiple books now, multiple encyclopedias, everything. Everybody knows Israel went to Asia. Now, the thing is that what makes this totally legit is that Israel went to Asia, and there was a slave trade, and the Sahara slave trade from India to Southeast Asia, and also from India to Africa. It says slavery was the former allowed in Malabar, and the white Jews could make other slaves. So suddenly now the Jews are enslaving Jews? The natives, males and the females whom they brought, were admitted as slaves according to the Jewish law. What Jewish law? That so they was like, oh, so basically what they did is they kind of conned everybody to believe that they were the real Jews, and these men need to be enslaved if they were Israel. And even those who voluntarily entered the fold of Judaism were not admitted and treated as strangers of righteousness, but as slaves. The males had to undergo the ritual of circumcision and ablution, and the females were subject to ablution. Their offsprings were also treated as slaves. At the time of the circumcision, the mole who performed this rite recited the blessings of circumcising slaves, and a similar blessing was recited at the time of their ablution. So, bottom line, the white Jews or the white Jewish people started to enslave the real Israelites that were living in India due to the acquisition of the Portuguese acquisition or the Spanish acquisition, justifying that they are the real Jews, and because they were white, they were able to do that. And at the same time, they were pushing on Christianity throughout the world.